Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to the channel and to another episode of F1 Fantasy Weekly. It is time for another preview of the game where you get $100 million budget.
Nice.
I've bodged it. Budget. Oh, it's just going. You get 100 million. You got to pick 5 drivers, 1 constructor. Who cares? Compete against whoever. Clearly not against us.
Wow.
We're like bottom of the league.
If you're a bit more excited than that, you can always join our Discord, the dedicated fantasy channel.
And that's always buzzing. That is always buzzing.
You can just go, check out my team. I'm incredible at this game. All you guys suck. And we'll be like, yes, we do.
And hopefully you don't budget. Budget.
Be nice to people if you join the Discord.
Budget.
Don't say they suck.
Yeah, please don't do that. We have a nice community, be supportive. As always, chaotic, but we're going to jump straight into it because that's what we do in a preview. Stephen, do you want to outlay what we do in a preview? Because the screen recording starts now.
Every time. So we're going to look at the top driver picks for the Portugal Grand Prix, the top team picks, the turbo picks, and the ones to avoid.
Whoa! As always, we do. And as always, like I said, we got the screen recording now, so we're on here. And you see, we'll actually have some differences because I believe Stephen has probably kept in Checo as it stands.
No,
you did bring in Charles Leclerc and Price. Okay, so we both brought in Checo. Have you switched McLaren in yet?
Maybe not.
Okay, so I've switched in McLaren. They are the team that has the highest percentage for a price increase. As you can see,
basically the 5 drivers you're looking at are the only drivers that were going up in between the Grand Prix. So this was like optimal money-making team if you were going to cash in on any price changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got a 9 million budget so far. So essentially, I can keep Russell and switch back in Checo for a turbo pick. Or I can turbo Lando, and this is just my team in terms of, but I go from there. But essentially, what we're picking, Verstappen is still the top pick. Lewis is still too expensive. Let me see, has Lewis gone down in price at all? Lewis hasn't even gone down in price at all. So for what you can manage, although this week, if you play around with it and you were going for McLaren, and the reason why we're going for McLaren is because they're the only team.
We'll come on to that. You've gone off schedule here.
I've gone off schedule.
Okay, shut it down.
Top pick.
Shut it down. We are doing your top driver picks for the Portugal Grand Prix. And I'm backing Max Verstappen. I don't think we've seen enough from Mercedes. Lewis looked very quick in Imola, but I don't think we've seen enough to justify 33.4 million for a guy that may not even give you a race win. And that's what you're looking for at that price. So my top pick is Max over Lewis.
Yeah, I agree with Stephen. Leclerc or Checo, I think Checo has got to get a podium. He has got to get a podium this race.
Yeah, you can feel it coming.
Like, if it's dry, he was lightning quick in Imola. It was just the wetness threw him off with the kind of balance of the car. You know, obviously no one had done, that would have been the first time he would have run wet setup on a Red Bull car. I mean, it's the same for everyone. We're making excuses here for Checo. You'd expect him to do.
He lost his head and he started making a ton of mistakes. But yes, for that top price driver, I would be backing Checo over Leclerc. Leclerc's price is just rocketing up and up. The McLarens are quicker than the Ferrari. I'm not sure why Leclerc's gone up so much to really justify that. I know he's getting decent results at the moment, but if you start having Checo, Bottas finishing, then Leclerc ends up finishing like 6th or 7th, and it's a terrible points return for that value. So yeah, you got to back Checo.
Yeah. Norris is, I think we said it last week, is a must pick.
Absolute
I think
must.
every team at the moment has to have Lando Norris. Just because of the pure fact, there's going to become the switch of where it's going to overtake between him and Ricciardo and where Lando's not going to start scoring as many points. But from the first two races, shows no sign of kind of slowing down at the moment. He is your top pick.
Yeah, well, just looking at Leclerc's price, Norris is basically a 13.6 million driver. He's a 17.7 million driver valued at 13.6. So you just got to get him.
Absolutely.
Value town right there.
Absolutely.
He's better than Leclerc. He's getting better results.
And Gasly for me is also a must. I think for that price where you can manoeuvre from having the Verstappens, even if you're Red Bull constructor, I think Gasly is a must. Because I think around that price range, he's by far the one most likely to score more points.
If AlphaTauri have a clean weekend, then you can easily see them challenging the Ferrari and McLaren.
Because he got 17 last week, didn't he? But he probably would have got a lot more. I know he recovered to 8.
Yeah.
But you feel he would have got more. He certainly would have been up there.
They just fluffed up on wet tyre strategy.
Yeah. And, it just made his race unrecoverable. Russell is definitely the top pick. I'd say it's pretty close between Russell and Mick Schumacher. But because of Russell's price, the sentiment bar is going up. He's probably one to go because even if you don't necessarily pay attention to the prices too much, he's one that naturally will go up higher than I believe Mick Schumacher will.
Russell almost had a mega points return in Imola, if it wasn't for the crash, of course. But yeah, he just got very unlucky, but that shouldn't put you off. It's difficult. The Williams is quicker than the Haas. So he gets kind of points from... It's difficult. You don't know when the Williams is going to show up. You kind of want to time it in with when they're going to have a good weekend, which is quite unknown unless you keep an eye on practice.
Yeah.
They reveal too much. But yeah, between Russell and Mick, I'd be even tempted with Mick, but he's only saving you like 0.5 million there.
Yeah. And the constructors is between McLaren or Red Bull this weekend. And I think we both believe that McLaren is worth the extra punt this weekend, having double streaks.
Yes.
Because that's an extra potential 15 points.
Yes, it is indeed.
So backing both drivers to qualify in the top 10 and finish in the top 10. Ricciardo, although he hasn't settled, comfortably looks qualifying.
It's just a very quick car.
Yeah, it's not on the cusp, is it? He's struggling to keep up with Lando, but he's easily getting into the top 10 positions.
Yeah, he's going to be beating the Aston Martin, Alpine, and the AlphaTauris.
No, absolutely. So, turbo picks, it's going to be, I think, between these two plus Checo again.
Your top team pick is McLaren or is it Red Bull?
McLaren.
Okay. For the streaks.
For the streaks. For this week, I think it's McLaren.
That's like top.
And now
top tip.
And now because you can make like a sub with teams more often with these 3 subs, I think it is worth taking advantage of the streaks on constructors as well.
Yeah.
Before it wasn't really worth it, and you were just going, I'll just wait until Mercedes capitalises.
They could make another podium, and then all of a sudden it's one of the best scoring constructors.
Well, yeah. Remember they were the top scoring constructor last time out in Imola.
Yes, they were.
So if they do that again and have the race streaks, then it's going to be a great return and point swing. Definitely going forward.
It is indeed.
But yeah, the turbo drivers, like I said, I think it's going to be between Norris, Leclerc, and Checo. If I do bring Checo in, then I believe I will turbo Checo and keep the faith. Because, like I said, surely he's going to get a podium, although Norris was great. And, Norris...
I think Norris is a safe pick. It's still going to be very good turbo. But Checo could be the best turbo, but slightly more risky.
Yeah, absolutely. And, yeah, that's anything from there. We'll come back to the team in a second. Just to go through thoughts, because I think this is a few people have kind of got this dilemma whether they're bringing McLaren in, so we can talk through our thoughts on that one. But who to avoid this weekend? Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, Alpine, Aston Martin, when I say the teams, I mean the drivers as well. And Alfa Romeo are a bit in no man's land at the moment. They're not really getting those championship points, which obviously give you more fantasy points. And they're quite expensive for, they're not too far off AlphaTauri. So may as well get a couple of, one of the AlphaTauri drivers in there if you can.
I think any of the Williams or Haas drivers are worth the budget risk.
Yeah, Mick or George, we spoke about it. But I'd probably avoid Latifi and Nikita.
I probably would, but I wouldn't rule it out. Like, I still think they still get like a 7. They're worth... Mazepin is much cheaper as well. Well, not...
No, Mazepin's about the same as Mick. I think it's 0.2 now.
Well,
and Latifi's more expensive than Russell, so...
Okay, so definitely avoid. Latifi on that aspect.
And avoid Nikita.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Bottas, avoid.
At the top of the table, yes, Imola may be a one-off, but I'd avoid him at the moment.
I think when you're paying above 20 million and you can't turbo Bottas, which is out of the 3 drivers you can't turbo, he's the least reliable out of the 3. So you just don't know what you're going to get. Like, it worked out well week 1 for people, like mixing it with the Max Verstappen's and the Valtteri Bottas teams. But then Imola, if you had Bottas, you would have been hurt big time by it.
Big time.
You lose out massive chunk of your budget and not a solid point return.
You got minus points.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. But I think that's kind of Daniel Ricciardo. I'd probably still avoid for the moment.
Yeah, he's just a stupid pick. If you look at Norris's price,
there you go. Stupid pick.
He's just not up to speed in McLaren. Maybe, like we've said, towards as the season develops, maybe Ricciardo comes quicker than Norris, and then maybe it's a question. But at the moment, Norris is absolutely whipping Ricciardo.
And when you've got Leclerc and Checo around a similar price,
exactly.
At the moment, it seems a no-brainer. And, you can get the McLaren constructors itself to cover those Ricciardo points.
There we go.
It makes a lot more sense to go down that route. So we'll switch back to my team here. So this is it's what happens. Obviously, Stephen, I think, has Leclerc in for the money in, but has Red Bull still, although you'll probably switch to McLaren.
Yes, probably will.
So the debate will be is whether you switch Leclerc out and go for Checo as a turbo, or whether you take Russell out, and because of the amount of budget that you can have, you've then got 15.2 million. So you can afford Vettel downwards.
But the only driver to pick from Vettel downwards is Carlos Sainz.
And Carlos Sainz is the most interesting one, and Lance Stroll, to be fair.
Those double Ferrari. Oof.
Double Ferrari or bringing in Aston Martin for Lance Stroll. Now, I can't remember how Lance Stroll did at Portimao last year.
I kind of want to say it was in his downturn of results.
Yeah. It's a tricky track from there, and Carlos Sainz also led the Grand Prix for a short time. But, he had a fantastic start in the McLaren, and he led a few laps. Not a few laps, that might have been a thing. I think it may have been about 2 laps. So Carlos Sainz, and obviously the double Ferrari was pretty good last time out in Imola.
Yeah, if they're looking quick again in practice, Carlos Sainz, double Ferrari could pay off very well.
It's definitely a decision. Obviously, you've got 1 free sub left. It's definitely a decision to, balance out over practice, I would say. I think you've got to see if the Ferrari is looking strong, maybe the point swing that you get from having a Carlos Sainz in the team is more than having a Russell plus Checo turbo.
Yep.
With Lando probably still getting near enough the same points as Checo. Or if Aston Martin looks strong, Lance Stroll is going to get teammate points. He's going to get overtake points usually. He's usually quite good at getting those overtake points.
If it's a messy race, yeah.
Yeah, so there's every possibility there. So that's an interesting one for players on that front, certainly. But yeah, as you can see, Gasly's, Norris, those, like you say, they're the only market ones, and you're just watching the guys drop. I mean, look at that. Daniel Ricciardo is dropping in price, so people agree on that. It's just Latifi dropping in price. Raikkonen's kind of stabilised at 9.4, but Yuki's stabilised at 9.4 as well.
Yep.
Who really rocketed up. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's your team. That's your thinking. Yeah.
Any changes on your thinking on that, or is it a similar sort of lines?
I'm kind of waiting for practice. Yeah, double Ferrari could pay off. I'm just trying to think if Portimao suit them. I know that they have a disadvantage on straight line speed, so they may not be too bad off towards McLaren at Portimao, or less so than they were at Imola. Although they were very quick at Imola. Tricky. Yeah, and you got to think next week you're going to have to
rejumble around to get things out. You lose one sub, although you only you lose one sub to get Red Bull in, which means you're probably going to have to get Russell
two
back
subs
in
to get Red Bull back in, won't you?
Well, yeah, because you'd have to take out Sainz or Stroll in that aspect. But then you'd probably just bring Russell back in, and then it will be a debate: do you keep Leclerc or go for Perez?
Yeah.
In that aspect, so not too bad. It doesn't kind of stitch your team up too much, and this is it. The fantasy game this year, which makes it so much more interesting because it is getting that element of you can start picking who you think is going to be good in some races without really going over those 3 free subs.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Right, well, we'll end that screen recording there. And we'll end this F1 Fantasy Weekly episode there. Guys, let us know your thoughts ahead of the Portimao GP, who you're picking in your teams. What's your dilemma? You can let us know where you are in the league as well. But yeah, hopefully we've got another great F1 race at this weekend, and hopefully we've got a combat between Max and Lewis Verstappen.
Oh yeah.
Round 3 of the championship. But if you're new around here or haven't done so already, what can they do, Stephen?
You can like, subscribe, and ding that bell.
Ding it! So for now, you F1 fans, keep racing!